Hi there, I'm Lee Lanier, and I've been working as a professional visual effects artist and workflow specialist since the 1990s. In this tutorial series, I'm going to discuss how to work with HDR inside Blackmagic DaVinci Resolve. So what is HDR? HDR, which stands for High Dynamic Range, is a type of digital video that supports a wide exposure range through a large number of stops. Cameras that support HDR are widely and readily available these days. For example, in terms of high-end cameras, you could use an Alexa or a Red. If you have access to such a camera, or at least the footage produced by such a camera, and an HDR-supported monitor or television, you too can easily grade with HDR inside Resolve. At present, HDR dynamic ranges may be as much as 14 to 17 stops, and that depends on the camera you're using and the shooting circumstances. In contrast, a pre-digital SDR, or standard dynamic range television, may only produce 6 to 8 stops. So HDR video can be shown on the HDR display, but not fully on the SDR display. For example, if you tried to show HDR video on an old analog television set, all the highlights would be clipped. HDR also supports a larger color gamut. So for example, with the HDR display, you could show more vibrant, more saturated, more true-to-life reds, where you could not do that on the SDR display. We'll talk about dynamic ranges, color gamuts, and other technical details of HDR much more thoroughly as we go throughout this series. For now though, let's go ahead and jump into Resolve and see how we might set up an HDR project. Right now I'm using the latest public beta of Resolve 16. And here I have an empty project. If I want to work with HDR, I need to start the color space. I'm going to go straight to my project settings, into the color management section, and then change color science. I need to use RCM or ACES. Both are scene referred systems that try to use the camera data as is. We'll start with RCM. I'll switch color science to DaVinci YRGB Color Managed. And we'll come back to ACES later on. For now though, if you do switch to RCM, you'll see you have the option to change the input, timeline, and output color spaces. So I'll start by setting the input color space to bypass. Then I can set the interpretation on each clip individually. Next, I want to change the timeline color space and output color space to a HDR-friendly color space. There are several options here. I'll start with Rec 2100 ST2084. Rec 2100 is based on the BT2100 standard, and here that's using the ST2084 standard, which utilizes a PQ curve, and a PQ curve replaces the standard gamma curve. We'll talk more about BT2100, Rec 2100, and ST2084 in more detail later on. For now, just look for this standard. I'll also match the output color space to the same one. And now we're good for HDR. At this point, we can import HDR footage and create a timeline. We'll do that in the next video. If you'd like to take a look at this project in its current state, it's saved as hdrsetup.drp, and you can import DRP files through your project manager.